be real honest, I'm beginning of my time. Yeah, I'm kinda real and I'm the optimist prime. Niggas don't see me but a little ass time. And in the corner, they don't even warn ya. How you gon' be performing by yourself? Nobody gon' help you, it's all for yourself. Even your own don't really believe. See, kid, I'm on my knees begging God, why should it be me? Hop up on the scene. Never question God, especially what you supposed to be. I see kid on the mic, yeah, I do this for he. See kid on the mic, is that a girl? No, it's a he, nigga. See kid on the mic, yeah. What we doing this? What we doing? If I give up right now, then nigga, then what was it? Welcome back to another episode of Road to William. Today, y'all, we're gonna talk about a teenager who passed away in Oklahoma, Nex Benedict. I was starting to do some research. I'm like, I'm gonna just take y'all on the journey with me. That's how we do it over here. So what I was doing was this. Let me share my screen. So when I type in Nex Benedict, it pops up what happened. Nex Benedict was a 16-year-old non-binary American student who died after an incident at their high school on February 7th, 2024. According to their mother and friends, Benedict had experienced bullying from students due to their gender for more than a year before their death. So off rip, their name is Nex Benedict. Their pronouns are they, them. Off rip, when I was starting to do research, and I started looking in the comments of certain sections. Somebody was defending Nex, but they were using their wrong pronouns. And that just is a point. I'm pointing that out because it's like, okay, it's right in your face. And like, of how you address this person, and people still choose to ignore that. And that's why it's important to respect people's pronouns and how they choose to identify, because okay, yeah, you're defending them, but in like but you're not. Like but you're not at the same time. So let's look this up. And when I was looking them up, I was like, okay, what are Oklahoma rights toward like the queer community, trans people specifically? And it popped up that their governor has a lot of things that go against queer people. I'm like, oh, why am I shocked? I wasn't, but I think that's important to note. So then I found this. Which one was I looking at? I was looking at a few. The Hill. Okay. So on this article, The Hill, it says Oklahoma governor signs order. This was what? A few months back, August 2nd of last year, 2023. Oklahoma governor signs order targeting transgender rights. Oh, that's their governor, Kevin Stitt. So Kevin Stitt signed an executive order Tuesday directing state agencies to adopt narrow definitions of male and female in a move that will rock back legal protections for transgender people in the state. Stitt's executive order, known to its supporters as the Women's Bill of Rights, defines female as a person whose biological reproductive system is designed to produce ova, and male as an individual whose biological reproductive system is designed to fertilize the ova of a female. Kansas, Tennessee, North Dakota, and Montana this year similarly narrowed the definition of sex in state law to allow discrimination against transgender people. Such laws have been dubbed by LGBTQ rights groups as LGBTQ Erasure Acts because they attempt to write transgender and gender nonconforming people out of as many areas of the law as possible. During a signing ceremony Tuesday in Oklahoma City, Stitt said the order, inspired by model legislation developed last year by the anti-transgender group Independent Women's Voice, will prevent transgender women and girls from entering women-only spaces in Oklahoma, including restrooms and locker rooms. I am taking decisive executive action to ensure the true definition of the word woman, meaning a biological woman, is what guides the state as we reaffirm our commitment to ensuring the safety, dignity, and sanctity of women across Oklahoma. As long as I'm governor, we will continue to protect women and ensure women only spaces are reserved solely for biological women. Oklahoma law already bars transgender students from using restrooms and locker rooms consistent with their gender identity. And another law signed by state last year prevents transgender women and girls from playing on female sport teams. Stitt in May gave final approval to legislation making it a felony crime for doctors to provide gender affirming health care to transgender minors, but a binding agreement by the state's Republican Attorney General later that month prevents Oklahoma officials from enforcing the ban, pending the outcome of a lawsuit filed by the American Civil Liberties Union. A 2021 executive order signed by Stitt bars transgender people from amending the gender listed on their original birth certificates. Instead, last year signed a bill prohibiting non-binary gender markers on state-issued birth certificates. And it says, in 2020, Maury Turner became the first openly non-binary person elected to a state legislature. On Tuesday, accused Stitt and the state government of silencing on Tuesday, Turner accused Stitt and the state government of silencing communities, including the transgender community, to avoid tackling real issues. I do wonder if Kevin Stitt ever gets tired of making a mockery, not only of the state, but also himself. Turner wrote in a post on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. This separate and unequal executive order signed here in Oklahoma couldn't be further disconnected with what Oklahoma needs. So that was last year in 2020. I wanted to understand that before I went into next, because it's like, look, where we starting from? Where are we getting at? I would have to do the same for any other state. Start with, what does the state have to offer for someone like me? I love California because it's just a melting pot in terms of living free. Like, this is one of the places, as a Black queer person, I can live free. We have our issues out here, of course. It's a big pro for me in terms of safety, in terms of healthcare, and having a community, and it's just very important for everyone to have in every state, wherever they live at. It should be, you should feel like that. It shouldn't be like, oh, the South, I hear a lot of great things, but the South is still the South. Let's be honest. Okay. I want to start there. So now, um, I just wanted to read more into their passing. This is from the Independence of UK. Okay. Oklahoma banned trans students from bathrooms. Now Nex Benedict is dead after a fight at school. So this is Nex. RIP to Nex. Whenever Oklahoma teenager Nex Benedict was bullied at school for being transgender, their mother, Sue Benedict, would encourage the 16-year-old to rise above their tormentors. I said, you've got to be strong and look the other way because these people don't know who you are. Miss Benedict told The Independent in a phone interview. I didn't know how bad it had gotten. The bullying had started in earnest at the beginning of the 2023 school year, a few months after Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt signed a bill that required public school students to use bathrooms to match the sex listed on their birth certificates. A few weeks ago, on February 7th, the bullying allegedly erupted in violence when Nex suffered severe head injuries during a physical altercation at Owasso High School. According to the Owasso, who cares? According to the Owasso Police Department, Sue Benedict told the Independent she was called to the school that day to find Nex badly beaten with bruises over their face and eyes, and with scratches on the back of their head. Nex told her that they and another transgender student in Owasso High School had been in a fight with three older girls in a girls' bathroom. Nex was knocked to the ground during the fight and hit their head on the floor, according to their mother. Miss Benedict called an ambulance and Owasso Fire Department medics arrived to find Nex had stopped breathing. Nex was taken to the St. Francis Pediatric Emergency Room, where they were later declared dead. In a statement, the Owasso Police Department said they were conducting a very active and thorough investigation of the time and events that led up to the death of the student. Owasso PD spokesperson Nick Boatman, the Independent, that the police were awaiting the results of toxicology and autopsy reports from the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office before determining whether anyone will be charged. Mr. Boatman said all charges will be on the table once a cause of death was confirmed. In an update on Tuesday, February 20th, Mr. Boatman said detectives were interviewing school staff and students and would be submitting their investigation to the Tulsa County District Attorney's Office for prosecution review. Owasso Police issued a subsequent statement on February 21st to say that an autopsy indicated that Nex had not died as a result of trauma. While the investigation continues into the altercation, preliminary information from the medical examiner's office is that a complete autopsy was performed and indicated that the descendant did not die as a result of the trauma, police said. The Benedict family later released a statement through their lawyers saying they would conduct an independent investigation into Nex's death. The family said that the facts surrounding Nex's death, some of which have not been released publicly, were troubling at best. An Owasso Public Schools, spokesperson declined to provide information about the assault or the school's response when contacted by the Independent, citing the active police investigation. LGBTQ advocacy groups have described Nex's death as a hate crime and linked it to the hateful rhetoric spewed by leaders in our state. And the Libs of TikTok account run by far-right social media influencer Shaya Reichik. I'm probably saying that wrong. So the influencer, a New York-based former real estate agent, became a cause celebre among conservatives for using her Libs of TikTok account to post edited anti-trans videos that target public school teachers and librarians. And Owasso high school teacher who Nex had greatly admired resigned in 2022 after they were featured in one of that person's posts. That influencer did not respond to a request for comment by the Independent. On X, she denied any link to the death and said she was unjustly being blamed for a murder. When you're old school, you don't always understand it. Let's pause right there. This is where I have to say that. One, first for Nex, like I'm just gonna recap everything up to here of how I feel. Like Nex wouldn't, what else would it be from? Something's not right. Clearly they're saying that. Someone's trying to hide something. And if the state has all this power, who knows who? Because it's clear that Nex was in a fight. What are those doctors saying when they were taken to the hospital by their mother? They saw that there was clearly something wrong. And you can't just say, no, it wasn't because of that. What was it then? And it's throwing me off that they're saying toxicology report, and that's a little interesting. I don't know. I mean, other than maybe the doctors giving them something, I don't know, but that's a little interesting to me. I mean, they probably always run that, but I don't know. I don't know. Something about that for me is, I feel a strange angle coming in that area. First off, I already know the mother is just like distraught because just think of yourself growing up as a kid. Did you tell your parents literally everything? Probably not. There's probably some things you downplayed or whatnot. And Next may have been the same way of like, yeah, it's this going on, but I can handle it and whatnot. You know what I mean? But I still think those three older girls should be held accountable. And hold the parents accountable too. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're doing nowadays. They're starting to hold the parents accountable for stuff. You know, they're old enough to know you shouldn't be doing this in a vulnerable place, as a bathroom. Let's speed it up to this TikToker, people having a platform to spew hate. That's all over the place. That's not just TikTok, that's everywhere. It's in memes, it's in videos, it's in it, people are going to spew hate however it is. Sometimes I have to just like keep scrolling because sometimes it'll be like a meme somebody think is like a positive meme, but it's really like toxic. You're like, oh shit, but you think this is amazing. It's People are spewing hate every day. That's nothing new. But what I want y'all to know is when you're participating in this rhetoric of hate, just know you're part of the problem. Don't think because someone else is uh, the face of it. If you're sharing it, you're liking it, you're commenting on it, you're passing it to your homies, you're part of the problem. You're not safe because you're not the one doing the video. You're part of the problem. And I'm saying that because clearly this influencer has a following of people who think the same. And you guys gotta watch how people post, what they post. You know how many people I had to just be like, absolutely not. Let's speed it up to here. This is the point where I had to get at. When you're old school, you don't always understand it. And I can't stand people like that because that means you're not ever going to be willing to hear somebody out. You believe you're always going to be right and no one can tell you anything. That's what that statement means. When people are like, oh, they just like that. No, it's rude. No, they're an asshole. No, it's wrong. I don't like how sometimes the older generation, older than me, think it's okay to still accept things that no longer are accepted today. Like they think it's a cool thing. They think it's a bad kids club. Like, oh yeah, still some of us still around. Real ones still around. Real ones is what? The only ones that's still around. Yeah, it's still some people like that around who it don't matter. You could accomplish literally everything. You could help the world. You could help save the world. But if you're something they don't like or feel uncomfortable around, they don't give a damn. They standing on business. You're saying you want to be held back. You don't want to move forward. That's right here. And it's a lot of people like that. There is, clearly. It's in your face. I don't have to lie about it. Let's get back to it. Like many parents, Sue Benedict and her husband Walter at times struggle to understand the nuances of Nex's gender fluidity. Nex Benedict is Nex's biological grandmother and raised them since they were 2 months old, along with their 5 other children. She formally adopted Nex a few years ago. She told The Independent that Nex was always understanding if she used an incorrect pronoun or called Nex by their birth name. Nex did not see themselves as male or female. Miss Benedict said, Nex saw themselves right down the middle. I was still learning about it. Nex was teaching me that. When you're old school, you don't always understand it, her husband told The Independent. But it would be very boring if we were all the same. It's on the inside that matters most. I'm glad. I'm glad they picked themselves up off that. There's people who will ignore this. They're gonna stick to that first line. They're gonna stick to when you're old school, you don't understand it. There's gonna be people who just stay there. The family who trace part of their roots. I was very open with my children to be who and what they thought was best. They could talk to me about anything as long as that respect goes both ways. A child needs to figure out who they are and what they want to be, and you cannot force it upon them. Nex's sister, Pila, Malia Pila, who is also a member of the LGBTQ community, told The Independent in an interview that Nex's fluid gender identity was not an issue nor anything that anybody cared about within the family. Next was a straight A student who enjoyed drawing, reading, playing video games, Ark, and Minecraft, and was devoted to their cat, Zeus. I was so proud of Next. They were going someplace. They were so free, she said. In April 2022, Owasso high school teacher Tyler Wren was featured in a. The incident sparked a backlash in the small Oklahoma city of 40,000 residents. Mr. Wren resigned from the Owasso public school system. Next was very angry about it, Miss Benedict said. Miss Benedict said that teachers who encouraged debate about gender issues were not promoting sexualized content. They're allowing the students to be who they are. Miss Benedict said she first became aware that Nex was being bullied at school in early 2023. They'd go straight to their room and put it on their radio. And I'd say, okay, you gotta decompress for a little bit and then come out and talk about it. Miss Benedict said she remains furious at the school for failing to call police or seek medical attention for Nex and wants to see the children who allegedly assaulted Nex punished. So many people push kids to be one thing, and you've got to let them find themselves and be who they should be. Society has got to see them as they are, accept them, and go on because we are all people. Woke ideology. Last August, a Libs of TikTok post showing an edited video critical of a public school librarian in Tulsa led to several consecutive days of bomb threats to schools in the district. So that same influencer, LGBT, I need to get together. Anti-LGBTQ posts have been linked to nearly 36 threats made towards schools, libraries, hospitals, and businesses across 16 states, according to a recent NBC News investigation. Last month, Oklahoma's Republican superintendent of public schools, Ryan Walters, appointed them to the state library's advisory committee. Mr. Walters has not commented publicly on Nex's death. He put out a video on X on President's Day decrying radical woke college professors for placing Donald Trump at the bottom of a list of the United States' greatest presidents. We judge presidents by outcomes, not woke ideology. They're saying they're promoting bigotry, intolerance towards trans students after Nex's death, continues to use her platform in a way that leads others to threaten real harm at Oklahoma kids. We want to be clear whether Nex died as a direct result of injuries sustained in the brutal hate-motivated attack at school or not. Nex's death is a result of being the target of physical and emotional harm because of who Nex was, the group wrote. Nex had a light in them that was so big. Okay, let's get to it. Right now we're gonna see some videos. What's been the update? It's by Inside Edition. We'll see what they on.
So what happened today? I got jumped. Police in Oklahoma released body cam video of a hospital interview with a non-binary teen who died the day after getting into a fight at school. 16-year-old Nex Benedict was able to tell the Owasso police officer their account of what happened in the school bathroom that landed them in the hospital.
They were talking about us in front of us. And so I went up there and I poured water on them.
Okay.
And then all three of them came at me. They came at me, they grabbed on my hair, I grabbed onto them. I threw one of them into a paper towel dispenser, and then they got my legs out from under me and got me on the ground, started beating me.
Okay.
And then my friends tried to jump in and help.
The following day, Nex's mother called 911 for her child, who was experiencing symptoms she believed were related to a head wound from the fight. Paramedics rushed Nex to the hospital where they died. Police say the initial autopsy report doesn't show that Nex died of trauma to the body, but toxicology and blood test results are pending. The investigation is ongoing. Meanwhile, communities held vigils for Nex, and a GoFundMe has been set up to cover funeral expenses, with the remaining money to fund LGBTQ+ organizations. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Mara Munn.
Well, there are new details tonight regarding the death of 16-year-old Nex Benedict, a non-binary student who died just one day after getting into a fight with 3 other students. CBS's Omar Villafranca reports Benedict's death has sparked nationwide demonstrations against anti-LGBTQ rhetoric.
From rallies in New York to walkouts in Oklahoma, members of the LGBTQ community showed their support for Nex Benedict, a 16-year-old non-binary student who died earlier this month after a fight at their Owasso, Oklahoma high school. A preliminary autopsy report says Nex did not die from injuries in the fight.
It's been really tough to lose someone that I cared about, to see all of this hate manifesting into something so powerful.
The fight took place in the girls' bathroom, and Owasso police released videos showing everyone involved walking out on their own. A school nurse sent Nex to the hospital, where police body cam video shows them sitting next to their grandmother. Nex told the officer the girls were harassing them. Nex says they reacted by throwing water on the girls, which started a 3-on-1 fight.
So they just up and decided to just start messing with you. There was
Because of the way that we dress.
The harassment is familiar to LGBTQ youth, like Alex DeRoy.
What happened on that individual level is an individual situation that happens because of a systematic problem.
DeRoy puts some of the blame on Oklahoma leaders who have pushed anti-LGBTQ laws in the state, like Oklahoma State Superintendent Ryan Walters, who has been accused of enacting policies that limit transgender students.
I'm going to completely reject the notion that common sense policies, that there's 2 genders, that there shouldn't be gender ideology pushed in schools, has any connection whatsoever to students feeling safe.
We do have some updates on the tragic death of 16-year-old Nex Benedict. Now, this story has gotten a lot of interest. It's very sad. This teenager dying after an altercation in a bathroom at their school. The teenager was alleged to be non-binary, but it is now not at all clear that the death was related to what happened in the bathroom or injuries sustained from it. And new video calls into question a lot of the details that had been circulating in the mainstream media about the death, including, frankly, whether the person actually was non-binary, whether they had a relationship with the attackers, and what was, in fact, the ultimate cause of death. Now, this following video is from the nurse's office where Nex Benedict was sent after being involved in an altercation with 3 girls. Of note, Benedict is referred to as a girl in the video with no pushback from the teenager, though the teenager's friends say that Nex Benedict prefers they-them pronouns. Benedict actually claims to have started the fight with the girls in the bathroom by throwing water at them. Let's take a look at this.
So they just up and decided to just start messing with you. Because
of the way that we dress.
Okay, so you didn't do anything at all at any point in time that would have, even a couple days ago or even a month ago or anything like that?
I don't know these girls.
Okay, all right.
We were going to stack chairs, and after we stacked chairs, we went to the bathroom.
Okay.
And I was talking with my friends, they were talking with their friends, and we were laughing, and they had said something like, "Why do they laugh like that?" And they were talking about us in front of us. And so I went up there and I poured water on them.
Okay.
And then all 3 of them came at me.
You're not pouring the water. Because I'm trying to get this in my mind so I see it, as best
I had a
can.
water bottle.
Thank you. That's exactly. Where did you get this water? Was it a cup you found? Was it your water bottle?
It's my
Your daily water bottle you carry around?
it was a plastic water bottle.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so you squirted them with water or threw water on whatever it was. Okay. Then at that point, what happened?
They came at me. They grabbed onto my hair. I grabbed onto them. I threw one of them into a paper towel dispenser, and then they got my legs out from under me and got me on the ground, started beating me.
Okay.
And then my friends tried to jump in and help, but I'm not sure. I blacked out.
I will absolutely do a report if that's
Yes,
what you want. I can do. Okay, but I'm just letting you know. If the other party wants to do the same thing, she's going to be. The assault will be on her as well.
Now, later on in the video, Benedict claims they didn't know the girls they were fighting with, and additionally, police reported that a preliminary investigation into Nex Benedict's death was not a result of physical trauma from the altercation, and that the cause of death is pending until toxicology results, other testing results, are in fact completed.
Welcome everyone to Powered by Rainbows. I am, of course, your host, Professor Pride. And today we have to talk about some updates to the case with Nex Benedict in Oklahoma, because truly the details of this case get more and more chilling and horrifying as you keep digging into this case. Some things we talked about yesterday were originally misreported by the local news in that area, and we wanted to update you on those things because they've now been corrected. So we're going to summarize what we talked about yesterday and correct the things we need to correct. So let's start off in the beginning. What we did in this episode is we went through an entire timeline from the very beginning of this to now to see exactly how it all transpired. And in all of my research, this is the only timeline that exists of the entire thing. So we're going to first start off with years ago. Nex's biological parents, by the way, Nex identifies as non-binary and uses the pronouns they and them. So that's what we're going to be using throughout this entire piece again. But Nex's biological parents are in fact transphobic. And it is reported that Nex's grandmother actually adopted Nex and their 5 other siblings a few years ago to take all 6 kids away from Nex's parents because of this transphobia, among other reasons. It is important to note that Nex is not the only of the 6 siblings that are members of the LGBTQ. Another of Nex's siblings identifies as LGBTQ, so not the only one there, at least one other. So Nex and their family were also members of the Choctaw Nation tribe, and so you also have a hint of whether or not this could be charged as a hate crime against an Indian tribe there as well. So that's going to be an interesting development on the federal side later on, and we'll talk about all of that in just a moment. Nex and their grandmother were trying to improve how the Indian tribe accepted the trans community. So the grandmother admitted in different reports here that she was first off not accepting too much of Nex being non-binary, but it's only because she's from an older generation and didn't quite understand what that meant. As time went on, Nex was helping her understand more about the non-binary community and correcting her whenever she needed correction. So the grandmother was very accepting here and was even working with Nex to improve how the Indian tribe accepted the trans community. So the grandmother was very much helpful and an ally of the LGBTQ. It was the biological parents originally that were not accepting, and they're still transphobic to this day. So that was something that was like kind of misreported in the news. So we were saying that the obituary was later given to the newspaper from the parents. No, it was not. It was given by the grandparent who is actually accepting. So that was kind of the confusion yesterday. The next thing we have to talk about in the timeline is actually the 2021 and 2022 school year. You might think that was a long time ago, and how would that relate to this story now of Nex's murder? But it directly correlates. I'm going to show you exactly how. So the Libs of TikTok hate group creator makes a video targeting a teacher named Tyler Wren at the Owasso High School in Oklahoma, the same high school that Nex attended. In this video, the Lipset TikTok hate group creator targets this teacher and says that they're way too LGBTQ friendly and they should be fired from their job. So what ends up happening is the audience of Lipset TikTok hate group goes after the school, calls for the firing of this teacher. They go after him personally at his home, harass him like crazy, and call for him to resign. Eventually, due to the overwhelming harassment to the school and to the teacher in their home personally, Tyler Wren resigned from Owasso High School that year. According to reports from Nex's grandmother, this, at the time, deeply upset Nex, as Tyler was one of the only teachers at the school who accepted Nex for being non-binary. And so you already have this story in 2021-22, where Nex was directly involved with a case of transphobia at the school from the Lipset TikTok creator. That is very important here because of what's about to happen. In May of 2022, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt passes a law that requires students to use the incorrect restroom. Boys are now required to use the girls' restroom and vice versa. For non-binary students like Nex, they're required to use the restroom matching their gender assigned at birth, meaning a non-binary student like Nex is now required to use the girls' restroom compared to a private bathroom in the nurse's office. This law that he signed in May of 2022 goes into effect for the 2023-24 school year. So last school year, it didn't go into effect, but this school year it did in August of 2023. So a year goes by and the state of Oklahoma is very transphobic and homophobic still. So, they're still very hateful, right? But in August of 2023, the law Governor Kevin Stitt passed in May 2022 now goes into effect, and trans students are now forced to use the wrong restroom across Oklahoma. Violence and bullying across the state of Oklahoma increases severely as the 2023 school year begins. This is seen in multiple reports by the Department of Education there, where you all of a sudden see bullying rates increase. I wonder how this happens. Does it have anything to do with the fact that you required people to use the wrong restroom? I have no idea, he says, sarcastically. Here's the thing. Schools across the country that implement LGBTQ lessons and GSA clubs see higher rates of graduation, higher scores overall in their testing. Their kids are much happier. You see less suicide rates and less violence. You see way less bullying in the schools. But schools like this in Oklahoma, where you implement these rules to require people to use the wrong restroom, they see higher increases of bullying and suicide and murder and all these different things, like lower grade scores, higher dropout rates. A lot of things happen in schools like this across the board. Every time that, we've been saying this for years now. We've been seeing these laws pass across the country, and every single time a law passes like this, like Florida, you see all these things happen. Lower test scores, higher dropout rates. You have students not learning as much. I mean, if you even seen the libraries in Florida, they're almost empty nowadays because there's no books to put out there. Just because they passed a law that says you can't talk about sexual orientation or gender identity, which includes straight people, by the way. So any book including a straight person or a gay person is now banned off their shelves. So that's fun to see. So you have just abysmal education across the board coming every single time with these laws. Oklahoma just happens to be a state that has over 50, not only have they been passing these laws, but this year in 2024, over 50 anti-LGBTQ bills have been proposed to the Oklahoma state legislature this year alone. It is the highest number of anti-LGBTQ bills being proposed in 2024 so far compared to any other state. It is the most transphobic and homophobic state on the legislature of any of the 50 states. You might think Florida or Texas would win that. But in fact, Oklahoma is the most transphobic and homophobic so far in 2024. So
I appreciate
there's
you,
a lot
Powered
more
by,
coming down the pipeline.
Powered by Rainbow, breaking it down. Everybody's in on it. The cops, the governor, everybody's in on it. This ain't no conspiracy. This ain't no damn TV series. This is what happens in real life. And people want to ignore what happens. You can't ignore someone dying. You can't ignore that. And I pray that the parents out here aren't raising no transphobic, homophobic. You don't know who you have in your household. I'm not about to go there with y'all because I'm not even about to go.
This is Nex Benedict, a non-binary teen who was brutally beaten by their classmates on February 7th and died the next day as a result. 3 older girls allegedly attacked the 16-year-old in the girls' bathroom at a public school in Oklahoma, sparking national outrage about the state's laws and dangerous rhetoric targeting transgender students. While a teacher did intervene to stop the fight, school staff didn't call an ambulance, despite Nex having a bruised face and scratches on their head. Sue Benedict, Nex's grandmother and legal guardian, took them to the hospital that day and again the next day after they collapsed at home. Nex died that evening due to complications from brain trauma, according to their best friend. Sue told the Independent that Nex had been a victim of bullying since the beginning of the 2023 school year, just a few months after Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt signed a bill prohibiting trans students from using public school bathrooms that match their gender identity. Nex, whose roots can be traced to the Choctaw Nation, grew up in a supportive home environment that encouraged open conversations about gender. The bullying came from the outside. LGBTQIA+ groups have called Nex's death a hate crime, with some connecting it to the hateful rhetoric spewed by leaders in our state and the far-right social media account Libs of TikTok. Online influencer Chaya Rachik runs the account and posts anti-trans videos targeting teachers and librarians. One of Nex's favorite teachers at their school resigned after they were featured on the Libs of TikTok account. An NBC News investigation found that Rachik's anti-LGBTQIA+ posts have been linked to 33 threats made towards schools, libraries, hospitals, and businesses across 16 states. Hate towards LGBTQIA+ people has sharply risen in the last few years, along with GOP-led attacks on the community's rights. Since 2021, nearly 800 anti-trans bills have been introduced across the U.S., making trans people the center of discussions about healthcare, education, and sports. It's no coincidence that the FBI's latest annual crime report for 2022 documented record numbers of anti-LGBTQIA+ hate crimes. The report found a nearly 33% increase from the year before in attacks based on gender identity, and a nearly 14% increase in attacks based on sexual orientation. And those numbers were even more jarring for people of color. The Human Rights Campaign found that for 2023, 84% of trans people fatally attacked were people of color. A GoFundMe page set up to help with Nex's funeral costs has raised more than $100,000, though it sadly uses Nex's dead name. Sue Benedict apologized for not using their name correctly and said she plans to donate most of the money to help children dealing with the right to be who they feel they are.
Today, students held a peaceful walkout at a top.
And I don't want to hear the whole, oh, they started it because they threw water. They did not start it. Those girls started it by planning on harming Nex. They followed Nex into the bathroom. It's premeditated. Murder to me. It's premeditated. Oh, let's go in there. That's what started it, not them throwing water. That was them defending themselves and the people around them. The bathroom thing for me as a trans person is very stressful. Usually go to the bathroom now if I'm out. It don't matter if I'm at the mall, if I'm at a restaurant, if it's rare. Like I usually wait till I get home because, and thank God my job has those just regular restrooms for just single people, like single restrooms, and those are really important. I think those are important in schools, especially today. We have to move in the times of today. It can't just be the same thing because people don't want to do the work to incorporate everyone else. We go back. I'm Black. We go back to white people feeling like, oh, we don't want to incorporate everything for them. Dang. Okay, it's the same with how they're treating queer people, how they're treating non-binary people, how they're treating. And I feel like non-binary people, I don't identify as non-binary, but I feel like I can see how everybody in the community has a struggle of some sort within their community, whether you're lesbian, gay, trans, non-binary, even if you're an ally for queer people, everyone has a challenge. And I think, and people who are non-binary, please speak. I want to hear like what you have to say. But I feel like outsider looking in to someone who's non-binary, it has to be just as hard, if not harder, when it comes to bathrooms, because it's like it's not just the choose part, it's also how you identify how you look and how other people interpret the situation. Years, maybe a few years ago, when I was just starting to get on gel, still like very baby in the face. I'm very baby, okay? But I just felt going into the women's bathroom was safer because I'm like, well, maybe they're gonna just see me as a stud and whatnot. And the more into my transition and things like that, it's like I can't just go up in there. No, I can't go in there anymore. But even though it's kind of like for some want that, oh yes, let me be able to pass to go into the men's bathroom. For me, going into the men's bathroom is like just as scary going into the women's bathroom. It's like you scared of a lady gonna be like, the what? And you scared of dude gonna be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Either way, it just feels terrifying. Sometimes I don't give myself as much credit for how I look because I've seen myself all my life. So I'm always gonna, I think in my mind, think I'm always just gonna look how I feel like I look. But I have to, I've been teaching myself to just really look in the mirror because people are how you identify and who you are is how people are addressing you. And I think I'm readjusting to that. And that's making me mature more into my transition. And everything takes literally a day at a time. Like each day you're figuring it out. Each day you're putting that piece together or taking that piece apart. Like, hold on, it's not over here, it's over there. But the bathroom thing, and I'll do a new video on bathrooms. I did one a while back, but I want to do an update on that because it's really stressful. It's a really stressful thing. And no, I don't, if I'm out and about, I'm not using the restroom. If, and I don't really club like I used to. I used to club back in the day. I don't do that anymore. But if we're, out at a restaurant or if we're at the movies, I don't go to the bathroom. I'm like, we gotta go home right after this. Sometimes like I think maybe a few years back, I was out with some friends back at home and we were at a bar and I didn't feel comfortable enough going into the men's bathroom at that time. But now I feel like we're to do that again right now. I would be more comfortable going to a men's bathroom, but I usually just don't. Um, and it sucks because it's like, dang, like I want to enjoy my time. I want to be able to just go use the bathroom. But it's something like that is just stressful. Um, and like I said before, and I'll say it again, my voice, I believe, is like what makes people really look at me strange. Like, they be like, what up, bro? I'll be like, what up? Because I used to be like, okay, let me try and force this voice, like make it deeper and I'm like, it's naturally becoming deep. So I don't have to do the most, like, and but still training it. But I did a little voice training a little bit, but I think if you just allow to naturally be who you are, it's gonna come to you the way. And then I'm like, also just look at it. Everyone's voice is so different. No matter how you identify, no matter who you are, everyone's voice sounds completely different. Some people have very high pitched voices. Some people have very low. Some people right in the middle. It's a range of how people sound, and I think to just put myself in a box and just be like, no, I can only sound like this because that's what people, side with a man on. A man's voice is supposed to be deep as hell, like the dude from The Temptations and shit. And I was just like, that's not the reality. That's not the reality at all. And nor should we care about. We should care about you and your goals for yourself, but it shouldn't be to the point where it's like I gotta do this because of an outside norm, you know. So gonna be doing more videos on next. We're gonna get an update. We're gonna do more videos. Um, this one was a hard one. I was supposed to do this a while ago. Like y'all know how I am about these. Like I try not to just run right in the beginning, but I faced my fear and I wanted to put this out for y'all. And I want y'all to share this and just keep learning. Just the best thing you can do. Like if some people like, I don't know how to help support, like keep learning. The more you know, the less you fear, the less you're confused. You know, a lot of people like to use that excuse, like, oh, I'm just that's too much. That's confused. I don't want to do. Okay, well, you're always going to be in that area of not understanding and not knowing if you're not choosing to listen to the next person. You know, or people going to sit there and babysit you to do it. If you're not with it, cool. But we over here, we chill, we vibing, we here to grow. I only want people around me who willing to grow. You know what I mean? And everybody ain't gonna go with you, and you gotta remember that. I have to tell myself everybody can't go, and that's okay. Because do you really want somebody to just be in your life just to be like, hey, I'm in your life? Like, it's like, yeah, but are we both benefiting from this emotionally, intellectually? Are we growing? You know what I mean? Are you bettering yourself? Are you when you out and about on your own, how do you treat people? You know what I'm saying? How do you talk to people? How do you feel about yourself? I mean, these things are important because ultimately it leads to a better action and how we treat people and lead. And some of these people aren't even queer, are out here with signs to support. And we just ask, well, I just ask, I can't speak for nobody else, but if you want to support, like they saying, speak out, stand up, speak out. Your voice matters. I think that's important for you to remember. We're gonna watch this video, but my condolences goes out to the family, to their grandmother specifically, who didn't have to help raise another child, but decided to because it was the right thing to do, and saw that she could give love to her grandkids better than the next. That takes, I think, she's probably one of the dopest people in this world, one of the most the best heroes, even though if she may feel like, oh, she should have done more, she didn't know. She's probably regretting in her soul, like I should have, you know what I mean? And you can only do what you did, you know, and you did everything you could. You took your grandkid to the emergency room. I feel like they didn't take them seriously. I just had a video yesterday where they don't take. We were saying black people, but people of color, they don't take people of color serious in them hospitals. They don't. And to keep brushing things under the rug, and they're part of a tribe, and it's just like that's you know what I mean. To the grandmother, you did everything you were supposed to do, and you loved next way more love than they were getting before. And I think the people who did it should be held accountable. You shouldn't just be able to get away with that. When people get away with stuff like this, that means in the future they might do something even worse. What's worse than that? The worst in this is them doing the same thing and repeating the cycle. Them having families of their own to repeat the cycle. Next should be at the crib chilling, vibing out, with their cat, with their friends, with their family, watching their favorite TV show, playing their favorite video games, kicking it, like getting some food, stepping outside, getting some fresh air, wondering, am I going to college? I don't know. If I go to college, what am I going to do? Oh, they can't do that now because some girls at school were jealous because Next is living their truth. just let's break it down to the nitty gritty. Nex was living their truth. I mean, that's one of the things that their grandmother said was inspirational, was seeing how freeing her grandkid was. You know what I mean? And so, and the states have to get it together. They're having kids dying in schools. I know we do a big uproar for the shootings in schools, and that's terrible just as well. On that same spectrum, this also is a murder. This also is something we need to be pushing up more. This should be worldwide of what's going on, just like everything else we see worldwide going on. This should be just as important as everything else, not above, not under, the same. I want y'all to sit there and think about it, keep doing more research, and tell me what you found. We're gonna keep doing. We're gonna keep updates on Nex and their family, and we just want to put. I just want to give love and encouragement out there. This should know, like, Nex left in a tragic way, and that's the only way they left. And so that being raw cut, I want to remind people to just be who you are. Everybody got a that day and time. And the crazy part about life is you don't know when. You might have feelings, you might have a vision, you don't know when. That's the thing. That's what everybody got in common. No one knows when. So at the end of the day, if everybody ever thinks they're above the next, and we don't even know when we're leaving this earth. We don't know shit. I want people to keep living your truth, because even if you're not living your truth, you still gonna have the same expiration. You might, if you live your truth, your expiration date might extend. Imagine if Nex never moved in with their grandmother. We might not have even heard of Nex. Nex might have been gone even before that. From the lack of love, from the lack of being able to be free. So a reminder to just keep being you. And if you're not being you, try. Rip off the bullshit people are putting on you. Remember who you are, the core, you. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna watch this and then we're gonna be out.
Oklahoma High School, and this was in response to the death of LGBTQ plus student Nex Benedict, who died one day after a fight in a school bathroom.
This is all happening just one day after police released surveillance video of the altercation, which shows Nex walking into the girls' bathroom. A faculty member soon follows, and then the fight is broken up. It's unclear if the fight actually contributed to Nex's death, though. A cause of death has yet to be determined. Our Maria Villarreal joins us now. Maria, we see there the students organized the walkout, demanding action following Nex's death. What exactly are they calling for? And is there any timeline where we can find out how this death occurred? I mean, that's the biggest question right now.
You know, it's interesting, Kira and Terry, the district attorney's office in this area just sent out a statement not too long ago talking about asking the public really to give them time to continue their investigation. At this point, they feel there's been a lot of passion on both sides of this case, a lot of frustration as well. We saw that obviously in the walkout video that you just saw happening there in that town. Obviously, this has happened earlier today. It was a peaceful walkout. And really what students are calling for is a full investigation where there is accountability and transparency. Many of them spoke out saying that there were issues at this school long before the death of this particular student. So they obviously want accountability there. They want things to change in their school.
We just want the word out that this isn't okay. Our children are scared to death to go to school every day. And something has to stop. And hopefully the school board will take it seriously because our children are dying. They are dying.
So obviously there a call for accountability and transparency. But right now, so far, the school district has stayed pretty quiet about all of this.
Yeah, and Maria, it's so important, you know, to get the answers right in this case, because as you found out, talking to people are scared. People's emotions are running high. You know, what's next to determine the cause of death at this point?
Terry, so we know that a preliminary autopsy was done, and then also the results of that was released, where we saw that they don't believe at this time that the trauma from the actual fight was a cause of death. However, that is not an absolute, and in a lot of these situations we see, because the public is so adamant about wanting some sort of answers to be released, the police definitely give out what they can, or for that matter, the medical examiners give out what they can in the moment. But that is not an absolute. That is not them saying that they have an absolute cause of death. So as of right now, we also know that the Owasso School District, Owasso School District was actually served a search warrant. And that was performed by the local police department, where 137 photos were taken, 2 swabs inside the bathroom, all in conjunction with this investigation. So that clearly shows us that the police department in this case are far from being done in their investigation, which also means we don't have a cause of death. So I'd imagine we're going to see a little bit more investigation here. Timeline, you can never tell in these situations. They want to take their time, but they also know there is heavy pressure from the public here. So again, I think with all eyes on them, there will be full transparency, hopefully, in this case.
All right, and we know you'll be on it. An important case. Maria Villarreal, thanks very much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News.
All right, y'all. So they're taking their time, which, long as they're not stopping, that's fine, but they do need to be on it. That's going to be the video for today. Like I said before, make sure you go out, do your research. It said Nex's friends preferred he, him. So moving forward, we're going to be using he, him. Stuff like this just drains me, because don't take anything serious until something like this happens, So make sure y'all drop some love in the comments. Drop a heart for Nex. We're gonna keep doing updates to see what his case is, and if they're gonna do something about, or when they're gonna do something about the people who killed Nex. That was the result of what happened in the bathroom. They were walking in there just fine. They didn't have any complications beforehand. After this fight, they had a whole bunch of complications. Like, it's 1 + 1 is 2. It's not that hard. I just wanna drive in the Audi. I wanna make her scream loudy. What the fuck they all